Arne Slot, the Dutch Lex Luthor, is gone. Liverpool replaced him with their own Spanish Doc Ock. We went from chasing Superman to hunting Spider-Man. I think the absolute most important thing when I arrive at a new football club is simply this. When I leave, I hope everyone has good things to say. Returning 10 years later, I still want real relationships with people inside the club. Arne Slot did a fantastic job winning Liverpool their 20th league title. But modern football moves ruthlessly fast. Success vanishes just as quickly as it arrives. The pitch results turned awful, and behind closed doors, things looked even worse. Things inside that Liverpool dressing room shattered. The famous club identity was totally gone. Factor in the massive transfer spending, and the Liverpool board decided a hard reset was absolutely required. The board wanted to ditch the slow, possession-heavy style that defined Slot's second season. They craved a return to the aggressive, high-intensity football that once made Liverpool Europe's most feared team. That managerial search led them straight to Andoni Iraola. In the end, we must be an efficient team. I always say it, but it just makes me feel much more comfortable. If we win the ball back high, we have to attack faster. The Basque manager departed Bournemouth after delivering the greatest season in the club's entire history. Under Iraola, the Cherries grabbed 6th in the Premier League, securing European football for the very first time. I came here to change our style a little bit, to change how we play and be more proactive. We believe it creates more chances, but we have to prove it on the pitch. Those results alone are incredible. But when you study how Iraola actually transforms football teams, it becomes even more staggering. Throughout his entire managerial career, Iraola constantly takes squads with tiny budgets and pushes them way beyond their expected limits. His teams are famous for ruthless pressing, rapid transitions, brave attacks, and physically overwhelming the opposition. Basically, the exact opposite of what Slot Ball looked like during that miserable second season. Whenever you try building out from the back, starting with the goalkeeper is incredibly difficult. You just play. You keep passing it around, trying to find those tight spaces, eventually going wide to try and score the goal. Sure, we can score some goals like that, but most of our goals, like the one we just scored at Anfield, happen because we force the issue. One bad pass, and we are there. For Liverpool's brass, that aggressive philosophy felt much closer to the club's true identity. Before transforming Bournemouth, Iraola built a fierce reputation in Spain for making underdog teams perform way above their financial weight class. His first major breakthrough came with CD Mirandes when Iraola arrived in the summer of 2019. Mirandes had just climbed back into Spain's second division. The club's expectations were extremely modest. The realistic goal was purely survival. They operated on one of the league's tiniest budgets, completely lacking the star power of their bigger rivals. Most managers in that spot would play it safe. They'd park the bus, play conservative football, and just try to be stubborn defensively. Yet, Iraola did the exact opposite thing. From day one, he demanded pure aggression, intensity, and bravery. His Mirandes squad pressed relentlessly and attacked with lightning speed. They refused to act like a team just lucky to be there. The results were stunning. Mirandes didn't just dodge relegation. They surged to 11th in the table, becoming one of the most incredible stories of the season. But what truly put Iraola on the map was the Copa del Rey. Mirandes delivered one of the most magical cup runs in modern Spanish football history. Despite being second-tier underdogs, they fought to the semi-finals for only the second time in their entire 92-year history. Along the way, they eliminated 3 massive La Liga clubs, playing totally fearless football. Basically the exact opposite of Arsenal. First Celta Vigo, then Sevilla, then Villarreal. Beating Sevilla was mind-blowing. Managed by the brilliant Lopetegui, Sevilla arrived as heavy favourites, but Mirandes absolutely suffocated them with relentless pressing and rapid counter-attacks. A stunning 3-1 victory sent shockwaves through Spanish football. It proved Iraola's aggressive methods could genuinely break elite opposition. The quarter-final clash against Villarreal felt even more dramatic. Mirandes won 4-2 in a high-voltage performance that perfectly showcased Iraola's football philosophy. Martin Merkelans was the star. He was sensational, grabbing a goal and 3 assists. Mirandes ruthlessly punished Villarreal every single time they lost possession. Eventually, their cup fairy tale ended against Real Sociedad in the semi-finals. But by then, the real damage was done. All of Spain had taken notice. Iraola took a modest second division squad and made them truly believe they could destroy giants operating on a totally different financial planet. But more importantly, he proved his tactics didn't rely on having superstar players to win. Hand Iraola a roster built for a mid-table finish, and he will show you how to squeeze every drop of potential out of them. When Andoni Iraola walked into Rayo Vallecano in 2020, he took over a club that mirrored exactly what he valued as a manager. Zero budget, zero expectations, and players ready to run through brick walls. Rayo has always been one of Spanish football's ultimate underdog stories, tied deeply to its working class roots, constantly punching up against clubs with massive financial muscle. Iraola shifted the club's entire trajectory right away. During his debut season, he dragged Rayo back into La Liga through the playoffs, bringing top-flight football home to Vallecas. Everyone assumed they would get relegated immediately. Instead, Iraola turned a basic survival mission into a massive statement. For the next 2 years, Rayo easily locked down 12th place finishes, despite running on one of the smallest budgets in the league. Even better, they pulled it off while playing some of the most aggressive, thrilling football in Spain. That was the moment the wider football world finally woke up. Iraola transformed Rayo into one of Europe's most tactically fascinating squads. While most broke clubs parked the bus, Rayo did the total opposite. They pressed relentlessly, countered with speed, and played with an intensity that completely suffocated their opponents. His preferred 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3 were designed to cause pure chaos. The whole point was generating as many attacking threats as possible. Rayo wanted to steal the ball high, strike instantly, whip in early crosses, and create massive numbers of shots. Time after time, they crushed Spain's elite clubs, pulling off a brilliant promotion at Vallecano, securing 2 safe mid-table finishes, and beating both Real Madrid and Barcelona in a single season. That is a massive achievement. Honestly, we had a brilliant experience working there. 3 great years, especially after going up. We were definitely the underdogs in La Liga. In October 2021, Rayo shocked Barcelona with a famous 1-0 win. A year later, in November 2022, Rayo made another massive statement by beating Real Madrid. Then April 2023 rolled around and they crushed Barcelona again. Even though Barca ultimately won La Liga that year, Iraola's squad delivered another tactical masterclass, beating them 2-1 with disciplined defense and brutal transitions every time they recovered possession. By the time he left Vallecas in 2023, he stood as proof of what brilliant coaching could achieve without huge financial backing. He showed that tactical focus, elite fitness, and absolute belief could help tiny clubs go toe-to-toe with the heaviest hitters in European football. Most importantly, he proved a trait that Liverpool's board now finds incredibly attractive. Everywhere he manages, the squad becomes greater than its parts. When Iraola landed at Bournemouth in the summer of 2023, he inherited a team totally unready to chase European spots. When I first heard about this chance, I was absolutely thrilled. The Premier League has always felt like the ultimate test for me. I never made it here as a player. I chose not to come because I was entirely happy playing my football at Athletic Club, but this league was something I desperately wanted to try. Bournemouth had spent years heavily leaning on safe, reactive football under former managers like Scott Parker and Gary O'Neill. Everyone tipped Bournemouth to get relegated last year. The squad and the previous manager pulled off a massive job just to keep them up. Are we just surviving again, or do we push for mid-table and beyond? When the Premier League kicked off, we were huge favourites for relegation. Ultimately, the level of competition is just insanely high in the Premier League. The transition was rough early on, actually. Bournemouth failed to win a single one of their first 9 Premier League games under the new boss. Doubts instantly started creeping in. Could his intense tactical style actually survive in England? The pressing felt disjointed. Players clearly struggled with the physical load, and the wins were completely missing. But Iraola refused to blink. He knew his football philosophy just needed a little more time. As weeks went by, the squad finally grasped the movement patterns, the intense pressing triggers, and the sheer physical demands needed to execute the system. Slowly, Bournemouth morphed from relegation candidates into one of the absolute toughest tactical puzzles in the entire Premier League. Driving that massive transformation was Iraola's highly unique pressing system. Unlike classic man-to-man pressing teams that blindly chase shadows everywhere, Bournemouth's trap starts from a fiercely organised block. The main goal is simple: choke off the middle and force him out wide towards the touchline. The second it enters the kill zone, usually a panicked fullback or a lazy sideways pass, Bournemouth suddenly trigger the press and swarm forward. The trap is officially sprung. It was almost like setting bait. You let them play into that specific trigger zone, wait for the predictable mistake, and then completely pounce on the error. You could really see the tactical vision taking shape on the pitch. The striker instantly bends his run to cut off any safety pass to the keeper. The closest winger and midfielder fiercely hunt their men down, while the far winger tucks tight inside to keep the shape narrow and lock down the middle. All of this fires off at once. What really makes this defensive system brilliant is the sheer aggression allowed from the centre-backs. If a striker drops deep to link play, Iraola actually tells his defenders to track them way up into the midfield. Sure, it is a huge gamble that leaves massive gaps in behind, but it completely stops the opposition from turning and facing the goal. By the 2024-2025 season, Bournemouth became an absolute pressing machine in the English Premier League. They forced more high-risk turnovers than almost anyone. They wrecked build-up play better than the big boys, constantly turning those high ball recoveries right into lethal chances. During 2024-2025, Iraola totally outclassed some of the best modern football managers. Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola, Ange Postecoglou, but I guess that is a free win. Ruben Amorim, again, another free win, but still. And Eddie Howe. Bournemouth's dominant display against Manchester City that year perfectly showcased the tactical aura of an Iraola team. They did not just snap City's 32-game unbeaten streak in the Premier League. They physically overran them. Even Pep admitted in the post-match presser that his squad simply could not handle the intensity of Iraola ball. We could not match his intensity. We kept losing those long balls. And when you cannot win those critical second balls, dropping to Semenyo or their central defenders and strikers, you are forced to sit deep. We really struggled to build any rhythm, but especially because of the sheer pace they brought to the match, they just played much higher than us. We just could not handle it. That is the magic of Iraola. His teams suffocate you and outwork you. This is huge news for Liverpool fans, especially looking back at Arne Slot last season. They constantly sat near the bottom of the table for total distance covered and raw running stats. They do not actually dominate the ball. In fact, they rank dead last for average match possession. But even without holding possession, they sit right at the top for expected goals and shots on target every game. And on the back foot, they are easily one of the sharpest defenses around. Throughout the 2025-2026 campaign, Bournemouth held an average PPDA of 9. That is elite pressing for the league. PPDA means passes per defensive action. It is a modern football stat measuring pure pressing intensity. It simply tracks how many passes a team strings together in the attacking or middle zones before a defender finally steps up and breaks the play. Basically, an Iraola squad will not let you connect passes for long before they hunt the ball down. For the bosses at Liverpool, these metrics meant everything. Watching this fiery version of Bournemouth, they saw the exact heavy metal tactics that made Jurgen Klopp so legendary. The same core tactics Arne Slot used to win the league in 2025. The crazy part? Iraola hit those insane numbers using a Bournemouth roster that cost an absolute fraction of Liverpool's billion-dollar squad. Stepping into Anfield, Iraola will have to manage a massive exodus of star players. But do not panic. He knows exactly how to handle that. After carrying Bournemouth up the standings, the heavyweights of Europe came knocking. One by one, the very core of his overachieving team was completely sold off. Semenyo signed with Manchester City. Zabani moved to PSG. Dean Hen joined Real Madrid. Milos Kerkez was sold to Liverpool, and Dango Ouattara left for Brentford. The funny thing is, most of them flopped after leaving Bournemouth. All in all, the Cherries raked in over 310 million euros. For a normal club sitting outside the Big Six, losing 5 crucial starters that fast usually guarantees a brutal relegation scrap. Years of hard work would vanish in a heartbeat. The whole world expected them to crash. Yet somehow, Iraola made the squad even deadlier. Teaming up with the scouts, Bournemouth went all in on hungry youth prospects instead of chasing washed-up stars. The club signed fresh talent, bringing in names like Bafod Dakit, Petrovic, Ryan, Ben Wattic, Amin Adli, and Adrian Truffert. Most of these guys arrived as pure potential, not proven stars. But within months, they completely bought into Iraola's tactical system. That's exactly what made the campaign so special. The tactical framework stayed rock solid, and the pressing stayed completely relentless. Their counter-attacks were absolutely lethal, and that physical intensity stayed right near the top of the Premier League. New signings stepped in and instantly knew their jobs. Why? Because the football system itself was carrying the heavy lifting. Instead of praying for individual brilliance, Bournemouth morphed into a well-oiled machine, and the results proved it. Even after losing the very heart of their old squad, Bournemouth finished 6th in the Premier League, locking down Europa League football, the single greatest achievement in the club's entire history. For Liverpool's owners, this specific campaign was probably the most impressive piece of Iraola's resume. Listen, anyone can look like a genius when things are stable, but the truly elite football managers? They lose their absolute best players, rebuild on the fly, settle new signings, and still get better. That is exactly what Iraola did. His final season at Bournemouth proved his success was not just tied to one lucky generation of players. It was built on a tactical framework, a ruthless culture, and coaching methods that leveled up anyone who stepped on the pitch. And that might be the main reason Liverpool trust him to completely rebuild a squad that had clearly lost its edge. There are a handful of games that perfectly capture what Iraola ball is supposed to look like at its absolute peak. The first real statement hit in December 2023 at Old Trafford. Playing United away was never an easy task for Bournemouth. Before then, they had actually never won there. Under Iraola, that finally changed. Instead of fighting to dominate possession, Bournemouth stayed perfectly patient. They let United pass around harmless areas, then sprang forward aggressively the second the ball entered midfield. Their pressing triggers were perfectly timed, and their attacking transitions were ruthless. Hook driving down the right side of the penalty area, the ball into Senki, and Bournemouth have stolen in front. Lewis Cook steals the ball, drives it across, and Senni strokes it right into the left side for Tavernier. Phil Billing is totally unmarked to the back post. The ball floats in towards Billing, he heads it home, and suddenly Bournemouth have a 2-goal lead at Old Trafford. Mari steps up once again from the near side, goes deeper this time, and it is powered in for a third Bournemouth goal by Sessi, his second goal of the match. The final score was 3-0. For many fans, that was the first time Bournemouth truly looked like an Iraola team. Then came another trip to Old Trafford in December of 2024. Man, these guys seriously love beating United. People wrote off that first win as a complete fluke. Iola's squad made sure nobody would ever say that again. This time, they handed United another 3-0 demolition. And this time, Ruben Amorim was the manager. That performance was even more stunning simply because Bournemouth looked in total control the entire match. Dean Howan opened the scoring with a header, and Justin Kluivert converted a penalty. Finally, Semenyo finished off a lethal counter-attack to seal yet another win. Then you have their masterclass against Arsenal during the 2026 season. Instead of jumping into a wild pressing war from the first whistle, Bournemouth showed a tactical maturity that quickly became the trademark of Iola's later teams. You know, once he actually had the time to instill his coaching philosophy, the Cherries stayed incredibly compact and disciplined. They let Arsenal centre-backs circulate possession in harmless spaces, while completely blocking the passing lanes that mattered most. Defensively, Bournemouth's 4-2-3-1 shape was incredibly organised. Their midfield stayed perfectly narrow and tight, making life an absolute nightmare for Declan Rice and Zubimendi to dictate the play. The moment Arsenal lost the ball, Bournemouth instantly attacked those central spaces before the Gunners could even reset. The opening goal captured that game plan perfectly. A clever ball finds Krupi. Bournemouth strike first at the home of the would-be champions. Even after Arsenal levelled it from the penalty spot, Bournemouth never abandoned their brave approach. Most smaller clubs would have dropped deep and just settled for a draw. Hell, I've seen Arsenal do that, and they're a massive club. Iola's side just kept attacking. A touch for Alex Scott, and he absolutely buries it. A collective gasp echoed right around the Emirates Stadium. The result was massive, but the actual performance was what stunned Liverpool fans watching from afar. Games like that Arsenal win felt incredibly familiar. The sheer intensity, the aggression, the lightning-fast transitions, and the fearless drive to attack bigger teams. Those are the tactical foundations Iraola laid at Bournemouth, and they're the exact qualities Liverpool desperately need to revive a squad that lost its edge. Truth is, Iraola might be the exact manager needed to fully unlock a generational talent like Florian Wirtz. To witness just how unplayable the German midfielder can truly be, you need to watch this video next.